Welcome to this explainer. You know, most of us probably start our mornings by just hurriedly boiling some water and dunking a standard, mass-produced tea bag into a mug without a second thought. It's basically just a caffeine delivery system to get us out the door, right? But today, we're going to completely change how you look at your next cup. We're exploring what I like to call liquid art, a world that combines deep-rooted traditions, incredible precision, and just absolutely breathtaking sensory experiences. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive right into this stark contrast. On one side, we've got commercial tea. This is exactly what you see stacked up in most grocery stores. It's highly automated, mass-produced, and the leaves are intentionally crushed, torn, and curled specifically for speed. They want to extract color and flavor as fast as humanly possible. But artisan tea? That exists in a completely different universe. It relies heavily on manual, hands-on craft. It uses the whole, intact leaf, and it fiercely prioritizes authenticity. We're talking about highly complex flavor profiles that a factory line literally cannot replicate.
Section 1. The Philosophy of Artisan Tea.
To really grasp this craft, we have to start with the mindset of the makers. Just like crafting a specialty coffee or a fine vintage wine, true artisan tea demands a deep, almost spiritual appreciation for the plant itself. Artisan tea makers don't just grab leaves indiscriminately. No way. They carefully select from specific historic gardens, often perched at exact altitudes, and they treat the tea plant with immense respect. Much like a master winemaker checking their vines, an artisan tea master actually studies the clouds, the morning dew, and the soil to gauge the exact perfect moment to harvest.
And that brings us to a really crucial foundational concept, terroir. Now, if you're a wine enthusiast, you've definitely heard this word before. It basically explains why specific altitude and soil conditions give these leaves a completely unique, irreplaceable character. You could hypothetically take the exact same type of tea plant and try growing it somewhere else, but because the terroir, the earth, the climate, the elevation is different, the resulting tea will taste completely different. It's literally the taste of a specific place on Earth.
And timing. Timing is absolutely everything. This is best shown by the concept of the first flush. This refers to leaves picked during the very first harvest of the spring season. The pickers are incredibly strict during this tiny window, often only plucking the absolute youngest, most tender shoots. These first flush leaves offer a distinctly profound, fresh flavor profile. It's this fleeting magic that you just can't replicate if you try to harvest those exact same plants later in the heavy heat of summer or autumn.
Section 2. The Meticulous Crafting Process.
Once those leaves are painstakingly picked, the real magic, and honestly, the intense manual labor, begins. Mastering this traditional four-step process requires years, sometimes decades, of expertise. First up, we have withering to remove moisture, which leaves the once crisp leaves soft and limp. Then comes oxidation. This is a critical step that chemically transforms the green leaf into darker colors and entirely new flavor compounds. That's followed by rolling, which carefully bruises and shapes the leaf to bring its essential oils right to the surface. And finally, roasting. This uses heat to abruptly stop oxidation and lock that perfect flavor right in. It's a really precise dance of temperature and timing.
Because this is an organic art form and not a rigid automated factory line, environmental factors completely dictate the final product. That means there's a totally unique story in every single batch. The shifting weather, varying rainfall, and specific intensity of the sunlight literally change the tea from year to year. Even tea plucked from the exact same row in the exact same garden is going to yield a slightly different flavor depending on that season's weather. It's an ever-changing masterpiece for sure.
Section 3. White and Green Masterpieces.
Let's zoom in and profile some legendary examples, starting with some delicate elegance. Imagine a tea so delicate it's made only from the youngest, unbloomed buds of the plant. That's silver needle. It's an incredibly premium, highly sought-after white tea. The processing here is brilliantly minimal but ruthlessly selective. These tender buds are carefully sun-dried just to preserve their beautiful, fragile, silvery white hairs. Because of this exacting standard, and honestly the massive volume of buds needed to make even a small batch, it stands as one of the most exclusive and expensive white teas in the world. Next up on our tour is Dragonwell, also beautifully known as Longjing. This is a traditional green tea originating from Hangzhou, China. And let me tell you, it holds an incredibly prestigious reputation. It's so revered that it's literally categorized as one of the legendary 10 famous Chinese teas. We're talking about the kind of tea that was historically offered as a tribute to emperors. The sheer magic of Dragonwell comes directly from how it's processed. Unlike teas that are steamed, Dragonwell is actually pan-roasted manually in large, scorching hot woks. This traditional technique deliberately flattens the yellowish-green leaves, but more importantly, it delivers this gorgeous, nutty, slightly sweet pan-roasted aroma. It has a warm, savory profile that completely sets it apart from the ordinary grassy green teas you might be used to drinking.
Section 4. The complexity of oolong tea.
Moving right along, let's explore an incredible spectrum where the artisan's precise control over oxidation really shines. Take Taiguanyin, for example. This is a semi-oxidized oolong that beautifully bridges the gap between green and black tea. It gives us this sharp, captivating floral aroma and a remarkably creamy taste. Artisans use highly complex, repeated rolling techniques, like literally wrapping the tea in cloth and kneading it. But the real signature of Taiguanyin is its long, lingering aftertaste. Known in the tea world as Guanyin Yun, it basically means you can feel and taste that floral sweetness in the back of your throat long after your cup is entirely empty. How cool is that?
Meanwhile, on the darker side of oolong, we have Da Hong Pao. This tea is famous for being grown directly on sheer rock cliffs in the Wui Mountains, because the roots literally absorb nutrients right from the rocky soil and the rainwater cascading down the stone. This extreme terroir gives the tea a distinctly crisp, mineral taste. The artisans then apply a gradual, meticulous charcoal roasting process over smoldering ash, which gives the Da Hong Pao a deep, incredibly complex and warming smoky flavor. To truly grasp the luxury and the absolute reverence surrounding this craft, just consider the potential price tag here. Depending on the specific grade and harvest, a mere 100 grams of premium Da Hong Pao can cost up to 2 million Indonesian rupiah. And true Da Hong Pao harvested directly from the original ancient mother trees, that's so rare it's practically priceless. But even the premium commercial artisan versions are highly prized, commanding top dollar for their unparalleled quality and rich history.
Section 5. The bold character of black tea.
Now let's dive into the robust profiles of a tea type most of us are pretty familiar with. When we talk about artisan black tea, we absolutely have to start with Darjeeling, first flush. Harvested high up in the Indian Himalayan mountains during the crisp early spring, it's so revered for its light golden color and phenomenally fresh flavor that it actually earned a legendary nickname, the champagne of teas. It boasted distinct floral, muscatel, and fresh grape aroma. Because this first flush production window is incredibly limited, tea enthusiasts worldwide eagerly hunt for these batches every single spring. On the completely opposite end of the black tea spectrum, we have Assam Orthodox. Now, the term orthodox simply means it was processed the traditional old-school way, meaning they carefully roll the leaves to keep them whole, rather than using that aggressive crush, tear, curl method used for cheap tea bags. This traditional rolling yields a distinctly bold, punchy, and malty flavor. If you want the absolute ultimate premium artisan milk tea, this incredibly strong Assam profile is the perfect, robust foundation to stand up to the milk.
So to quickly summarize these masterpieces side by side, it's fascinating to see how vastly different the sensory tasting notes are across these distinct categories. We travel from the incredibly delicate floral elegance of Silver Needle to the warm, nutty comfort of Longjing. Then we experience the deep, smoky, mineral bite of Da Hong Pao, going all the way to the bold, malty strength of Assam. It brilliantly illustrates why artisan tea is fundamentally an exploration of flavor and geography, rather than just a hot beverage to wake you up in the morning.
Section 6. Aesthetic experience and mindfulness. Finally, let's zoom back out a bit to understand how this journey impacts us on a deeper, more personal level. You see, the artisanal experience actually begins before you even take your first sip. Because these teas use whole, perfectly intact leaves, watching them slowly unfurl and expand as the steam rises from your glass isn't just a brewing step, it's a deeply calming visual aesthetic experience. It literally proves the manual care that went into processing that single leaf. For a lot of dedicated tea drinkers, this simple act of watching the leaves silently dance on the hot water creates a grounding ritual of mental and spiritual comfort.
And that ties perfectly into the broader cultural shifts we're seeing today. Artisan tea is beautifully aligning with the modern mindful lifestyle movement. In stark contrast to our normally fast-paced, hyper-connected digital lives, people are really seeking out grounding activities. Just as many of us have found deep joy in the slow process of baking sourdough bread or carefully measuring out a pour-over coffee, artisan tea is teaching us to slow down. It encourages us to appreciate the process and find deep satisfaction in a single, focused moment. So I leave you with this final, provocative thought. Are you ready to slow down? The very next time you reach for a cup, Will you just blindly grab a mass-produced, crushed bag out of pure habit? Or will you take the time to mindfully brew, smell, and savor the unique, irreplaceable story captured inside a single artisan leaf? Thank you so much for taking this sensory journey into the world of artisan tea with me.